All right, well, thank you everybody for coming. We've got a lot of staff here today, but we want to welcome everybody that's online and everybody viewing at home, re-watching this video. My name's Stephanie Patey. I'm the principal of the Pathways College. This is Carmel Crouch. This is our managing director of STEPS group of companies. And beside me is Karen Caldwell. She's the head of curriculum and training. And we're going to go through some of the changes that are coming through with the day college. But first, I think it's best to start with the reasons why why the boarding college and the day college started in the first place. And then that starts with Carmel, so she'll be able to tell you the story. We want to start there.
Sure. Look, I think it's really important to talk about where we came from and why we've got to where we are now. The boarding college was a dream of mine probably 15 or 16 years ago. I have a son with a disability, age 50, who still lives at home. He has learning intellectual disabilities, sight, hearing, and learning disabilities. So life's tough when you've got a kid with a disability still living at home at 50. He's a great young man, but at the end of the day, it's a tough road. So I long ago recognised that it was really pretty hard for families to actually to do anything towards making their own children independent at home. We're just mum and dad, and the expectations that we'll always be mum and dad. And if they don't grow up and mature as well as the rest of our children do, then it makes life difficult for mums and dads. So I always knew that there had to be a better way. So about 15 years ago, I actually spoke to my board of directors and suggested to them that they give me license to actually develop a program where we could actually replicate real life inside of a boarding college. So it was a much bigger conversation that happened over a good few months. But they supported that, and in the process of that, I started actually developing the program, if you like, or all the resources around putting the college together. So in 2017, probably in 2014, we actually went to the community and asked the community to help us fund the building here. This is 2.5 acres of 2.5 hectares of campus here, and we were doing lots of training here, but it didn't have anything very much to do with young people with disabilities. Our organisation since 1989 has actually been a disability employment program, and we've worked with young people with disabilities all of those years for obvious reasons. I've been in the organisation since its inception, and so it was really important to me that we made a difference in the lives. Not only, and I will tell you now that my reasons for doing this is that I know that when a student comes into our college now, that when they leave, they will be as independent as they could possibly be in any part of their life. But I also know that what I actually have been able to manage to do is actually make families' lives so much better. They end up having a son or a daughter rather than somebody that they're caring for the rest of their lives. And the freedom that's actually been able to give to families, siblings, to know that nobody's going to have to look after those young people or those people during their lives after mum and dad's no longer here. So that for me was really a really important part of the reasons why I developed this college. So if we go down the track, we are 6 years down the track of having our boarding college, where we have enough accommodation here for 22 students. Those, if you haven't been inside of our boarding college, then it would be great for you to go and do that. So we have 2-bedroom units that have their own bathrooms and little verandas for each of the individuals who are living in those units. And then they share a kitchen. So the whole idea is to replicate real life. They pay rent. We teach them how to cook. We teach them how to feed themselves really well. Healthy eating is really a huge part of what we do with the students. It's a very intense program where almost within the minute they wake up in the morning until the minute they go to bed, that they are actually being trained. They don't know that, but that's exactly that's the life that they are living. They spend, please come and sit down. They spend 2 years with us, and during that 2 years, they learn how to live independently. We've actually graduated 3 cohorts of students out of the college, and each one of those students are now living independently in the community. Now, it doesn't mean they don't need support. Some of them do. But when they leave here, we actually know that the amount of support they would have needed if they hadn't come into the college would have been completely different. And we also know that parents and families actually have the freedom to live their lives successfully. Something I'm never going to have, and something I've spent a whole lot of my life actually trying to create for every other person who's got a young person with a disability living in their home and their families, within their families. So it's a proven product, if you like. It's a proven program that we've run here. Probably about 4 years ago, we actually decided that we would actually do a replication of the boarding college into a day program. So I will actually say that the boarding college is actually set up to teach young people how to live their lives independently, externally in the community. The day program is actually set up to teach as many young people as we can how to live their lives independently at home. So that's quite different because we can't actually physically show them how to do that, whereas in the boarding college, we actually physically are able to have trainers, support trainers who actually work with them. So in the boarding college, our trainers who are absolutely trained to the nth degree, they get more training here in the Pathways program than any other part of our organisation. And the program is not punitive and it's not parental. So we are not their parents, and we don't hold anything over them or tell them they can't do something, they can't have something if they don't do something. It's a really clear motivation where we're actually teaching them all the things when they do something wrong or they do something that they could have done differently or better. That's our opportunity to really work with them, to give them other options in which they could actually make those decisions. So over a period of 2 years, we've actually discovered that this actually works exceedingly well. And so the day program specifically, which is the reason why we're here today, is to talk about how we work with our students to actually give them the ability to live their lives as independently as they possibly can at home with their families, which requires the families to be part of the program. So we're not a day program where they're just coming in here and being entertained for the day. It's really important to me and to our organisation that these young people actually leave here at the end of a program knowing that they're moving on to something else. We're not called Pathways for no reason. We are a Pathways program. Our job isn't to have your children or your young people here for the next 5 or 6 years. Our job is to have them here for 2 years where they will progress through how they're learning into a workmates program where there's some opportunity for them to get a job and to move on in their life successfully. So that's probably the short version of the changes that we've made. Now, we've made these changes because the program got off track, and we had some people here who actually maybe didn't have a really clear view of what the program was supposed to be, and so it got slightly off track, and we ended up having one day, lots and lots of students coming in for 1 day a week or 2 days a week or 2 half days a week. It's not possible for us to actually run our program that way. So as much as I understand that it's difficult for some of the students, it's difficult for our students when they come into the boarding college. They get really tired and they get really worn out over the first 5 or 6 weeks, but they eventually end up in the system, if you like. And it is a system, and it's deliberate. It is actually deliberate for us to actually bring the students in here, in our boarding college and in our day college, to do a very systemised program. It teaches them, it builds resilience, and it teaches them that if you're going to actually live your life, you have to live it deliberately. And we all have to do that. And if they've got a disability, they'll learn how to do that in their own ways. And our job is to support them to do that any way we possibly can. So that's the short version of what we're doing here. And the program that we've put together is very much aligned with our boarding college. And we're teaching the same things, just in a different way. It's contextualised to be working on a daily basis in a day program that we can show them what to do in a cafe, or we can show them what to do when they're doing meals. I'm not sure, the girls will talk to you a little bit more about what the actual programs are in detail, but we do the best we can in a day program to teach them exactly the same sorts of things and get the same sorts of results. Now, there's an opportunity for students once they've actually been in the day program, if they want to, and they'll be interacting with a lot of our boarding college students anyway. And some of the day students that are in our boarding college now are actually students that have been in our day program, and they've actually wanted and they've seen what it's like to actually live independently away from home. And most young people with a disability just want what everybody else has got. They want to grow up and they want to go to college and they want to leave home and they want to have a life. And, you know, it's incumbent on us, I think, as an organisation, and certainly to be supportive of parents who want the same thing for their children. So that's probably the shorter version of the whole reasons why STEPS Pathways College is here. We are the only disability boarding college in Australia. And in actual fact, in Australasia, there's only 2 in the world. There's one in England and there's one in Scotland. So we're pretty proud.
But they're very different.
They're very different to what we're doing. But, you know, we're really proud of what we've developed here. And it's been developed out of the love of young people with disabilities, and knowing that there is a better way to teach young people how to live their lives with disability, and giving families, you know, the opportunity to have a life themselves. So I'm actually going to turn this over now to Steph and Karen, who will actually go into more of the details of what the program is actually about and how we're moving it into a replica of what we do in the boarding college. Thanks. Is anybody having got any questions for me before I move on? No? 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 No?
Till the end.
Till the end, yes. Someone like to pass? I started in the boarding college as a trainer, so I know exactly what it feels like to work with someone with a disability. And in my time, the last 6 years, with the help of Karen and the other trainers, we helped to develop the boarding college program to what it is today. So, you know, once we had a really good look into the day college, and we saw that it had taken a bit of a turn, and I understand that it's, you know, offered so many opportunities to the people that are currently attending, but we do need to bring it back to the core of what we're trying to achieve in the boarding college, which is just creating the most independent life we possibly can for these young people with disabilities. So we really looked at how the boarding college was put together, and the 10 key areas of learning that they learn in the boarding college. So Karen will talk a little bit more about that. So that's what we've tried to do. We want to give our day college students the opportunity to learn everything that the boarding college students can in a condensed version for a 1-year program. And then if they would like to continue on to a 2nd year program, then that's fantastic. But if after the first year they would like to potentially apply for the boarding college, they can. If not, we've got other opportunities, which is Dale. We've got Dale here from our STEPS Workmates program, who can also help with future planning. We've also got community services and other areas of STEPS that can assist in later on in a student's future. But for now, what we're trying to do is teach our students all of those simple tasks that we all take for granted. So how to cook, how to clean, how to catch public transport, how to
work out how they can be in the community.
Yeah, be in the community, how to, increase their social skills, increase their communication skills, make friends. So a lot of the students that are applying to the boarding college often say to Karen and I don't have any friends. Oh, it makes me look emotional. I shouldn't have said that. Karen might take over now, please.
And on that note, we have had so many students who have come through who have had such a dramatic change in their life as a result of our boarding college program. We know that it works. We know that our 10 key areas of learning, which we will go to later, when they're introduced in the right sort of environment, they work. They do actually help people to have a better understanding of who they are as a person and how they want to be in our society, what they want from life. So one of the big things about our program is that none of us pretend in any way that we are experts at everything and anything. We are all lifelong learners, and we are all constantly learning on the job, because every individual is an individual, and our program is about helping that individual to work out who they are. We perhaps if we go to the slide, because we went to all the trouble of putting to the slide.
There we are.
Our 10 key areas of learning. We've got communication skills, social skills, home living skills, healthy living skills, healthy relationships, community connections, recreation skills, finding and maintaining a tenancy, employment pathways, and technology literacy and numeracy for life. We do have a breakdown there of those key areas, and I do believe that breakdown is also inside your areas here, your folders that you've got.
Yep.
And we also have a frequently asked questions. So the information that we are going to go through tonight, you don't have to try and remember it. It's going to be in here to help you follow up afterwards. Should we just skip through these? Or? I think so, because, well, yeah, I think rather than read word for word, guys, you've got that information. Okay, and it's not about, well, for our educational environment, it's actually not about getting caught up in what the names of the units are. It's more about how we can look at the content of what that involves and how it relates to a student, how it's important to me as a student, how am I going to use that, how am I going to take value from it and then put it into practice. Our model of learning is that we do use our mornings when everybody's in their most favourable mood, if you like, when they're better able to take on new information. We use our mornings to introduce new information. We get students to identify that information actually is something that they perhaps already know something about and that it has value for them. We encourage students to talk about it and explore that content, see how they're actually already using it and how they might use it in their lives. Throughout our units, we do have technology, literacy and numeracy actually embedded throughout our units, so that students, when they're in here, they have access to iPads and computers and phones, whatever technology they need to enhance what's going on. Social skills is another one that is actually embedded throughout all of our units. Our units will culminate in projects. So we have things happening amongst our STEPS community, things like our nursery open day, our Steps for Steps. Has anybody been involved in that? It's a great community initiative where we actually have 92.7 Mix FM do a lot of work with us, and they walk from Maroochydore, where their radio station is, all the way back here to the campus. Our students go on that journey with them, that walk with them. And that, for a lot of students, a student with anxiety when they first come in and think, okay, I can't go out, I can't talk to people, the change that we have had from some of our students who thought they couldn't do it, actually participate in the walk and then come back for more next year. So it is part of our culminating to show your stuff, to provide the evidence of what you've been doing by being involved in projects.
Just to hit the arrow.
And you might think your students, your young people, won't be able to do any of this stuff. You might actually think, because I will tell you, I've spoken to dozens and dozens and dozens of parents over the years, and who'll say, no, my son or daughter is just not going to be able to do this. They're just not going to be able to. And we actually understand that the greatest learnings our students have are actually from their peers. And if somebody in that group is actually doing it better than they are, they'll actually step up into those positions, into those roles. It's not about us teaching them or we help them step up, but they'll actually do it themselves because somebody else is doing it. And they've got the motivation to actually step into those positions in society. So, we've had a young person here in our college that came in as
Selective mutism.
Sorry, selective mutism. And she hadn't spoken to her sisters since the day that she was born. She didn't speak to them. So I think she's in her 20s.
Yes.
Yep, she's in her 20s. When she came into the organisation, I actually made it very clear to her. We knew she could speak. She just didn't. She chose not to. When she came into the organisation, she came to visit me because if they're coming into the boarding college, I'm the last bastion of approval, and I have to know that when a student's coming in here, whether it's the day or the boarding college, that they actually are invested in actually making a difference in their own lives. Because we can't make them do that. You can't make them, we can't make them. They need to actually have the want to do things differently and better in their lives. And they all do. They mightn't actually say they do, but we all know that they do because every one of them who've come in here have. And this young woman actually came into my office, and I actually said to her, I called her by name and said to her, I can't allow you to come into the college unless you speak to me. I need to know that you can speak to me and that you can speak to the trainers when they ask you a question or answer them, or you can actually be part of the social group around you. So I'm going to ask you some questions and I need you to answer me. And if you can't answer me, I can't let you come into the college because it would have set her up to fail. And the most important thing this organisation never does is actually set a young person up in our organisation to fail because we've harmed them. And if we're going to harm them, then we're actually not the right person or not the right organisation to be in their lives. So she came in and she sat, and I asked her a series of questions, and she answered me with more than 3 or 4 words at a time. And she convinced me that actually she could do this. She came into our college, and I think she was early in the year, and she went home for a visit with her parents at Easter time, and she spoke to her sisters for the first time in her life and had conversations with them. So we know that is not even necessarily what we do, but it's the fact that they come into the college and they come in and spend time with other like-minded young people with trainers who absolutely believe that they can actually do whatever it is they want to do if they actually really want to do it. Mm. So that's and that's the key to this organisation's success in both the boarding college and in the day college. I've been very concerned and disappointed that our day college went off track, but we actually are back on the track that we actually designed the program to be. And it may not be for every student, but we know that if a student can spend 3 days a week with us as a minimum and 5 days preferably, and they're doing the things they love and they will learn to do in that period of time, that it will make a huge difference in their lives. We know this. We've proved it over 5 years, 6 years now that we've proved this works. So it's a little bit disappointing for me to think that we've actually gone so far off track that we have to pull it back in. But what we have done is these young women here have actually worked for the last 4 or 5 months actually redesigning this course so that it actually really works as well as the boarding college course does, and it actually is identical but contextualised to a day program rather than actually the ability to have them in front of you while you're cooking or while you're having conversations with them around a kitchen table or how to make their beds or all of those things that they do. But what we actually do need is if parents are actually going to put or going to be prepared to allow these children to come into the boarding college, to the day college, is to have parents actually involved so that when we send them home after having taught them how to do something, that you're going to let them do that. That it's actually really important that what they learn here, and we're teaching them how to live independently, that parents actually allow them to try those things at home, and so that it gets embedded into their world and into their lives.
And just other examples of students. So the young lady that Carmel was talking about, we were filming a little video for, what was it for? We were filming a promotional video, and she was the first person to put her hand up and say, I want to speak in the video. So I filmed her because we're just filming it on her phone, on our phones. And she said a whole sentence about why she loved being in the, she was from the boarding college, why she loved being in the boarding college, how long she's been there for, what's her favourite thing to learn. And yeah, when I showed that to everybody, everyone was just blown away by how far she's come. So I didn't have the pleasure of meeting Molly when she first came in. I was on maternity leave, so I didn't get to see how far she's come. But yeah, seeing everybody's reactions was pretty impressive. But I have had some experience. So that's the verbal improvements that a lot of our students have made. Another example is a young lady that came in. She was one of our older students. She was around 38, and her mother, her and her family were from down south, and they came up here. And it wasn't until Mum had a really hard time letting go, and was very involved and very, kind of nervous about how she was going to go without her around. She's been with her for 38 years of her life, and she called maybe 2 months later, and she said, Steph, it wasn't until she came home from the holidays, and she said, all of my family have said to me how much Claire's, we shouldn't say names, but anyway, Claire's speech has improved. And she said, and I've just realised that I think I just spoke for her too many times. I answered all of her questions. I never gave her a chance to speak. And now when I think about it, I didn't really give her a chance to do a lot of things. I did it all for her. So now Claire, for the first time in her life, now has a voice within her family, but she also got to experience things that she never would have before. Her favourite thing to do was go to the beach, because she was, from property down there, so she spent a lot of time with horses, but she loved going to the beach, and she just thought that this was the greatest experience of her life. Mm-hmm. Another young man, one of our first cohort, couldn't actually answer yes or no to questions. He would answer them, but he didn't really understand which was the correct response. Now you can have a whole conversation with him. He can ask you how you're going and what you've been, and recall points from your life that he's remembered. So the speech and the communication and the social skills that's not something that we're just sitting down with them in class and saying, all right, practice your words and practice your spelling or anything like that. That is just a part of being around the students, around trainers. They're always around different types of people, men and women and younger people and older people and their peers. And the other thing is just being around people just like them. So they come into a place now where they're not the odd person out. They're fitting in. They're making friends that have got similar abilities to them. That is just so important to feel inclusive in the community. So they're learning, even just right down to catching public transport, all of those sorts of things that they learn. Reading a bus timetable, that might seem like an absolute challenge for some families to think of their child being able to do that. But it might not mean that they can read the bus timetable, but how can they have the confidence to go and find somebody behind the desk and say, okay, that's the person that I need to look for who's going to help me catch whichever bus I'm going to catch. So it's the being in the environment and the constant, we say that the boarding college, I'm referring to the boarding college because that at the end of the day is the most intensive version, but it is 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 whenever they wake up to whenever they go to bed, but at the end of the day they're living their life. So yes, the day college is a 3-day core. If the core skills is 3 days a week, and then they can choose to come on either a Thursday or a Friday, depending which group they're in. We'll get into that. But at the end of the day, one of the most important days that we teach in boarding college is what to do on a Sunday. So Sunday is a day that there's nothing on. So we don't have any activities. It's a day that students can go, their families will come to visit, or they'll go out and do things with their friends. And we learned that because our first cohort of students moved out of the boarding college, and they were so used to doing all of these things while they're in boarding that it come to the weekend and they didn't really know what to do. Because we kind of, I guess, made the mistake of thinking that we needed to fill their days up with things all of the time. And then at that moment I thought, hang on, we've got to wind this back a little bit, especially on a Sunday. So, I'm bored. What am I going to do? Entertain me. Well, no, how are you going to think through this? So I'm sure you guys have children at home that are bored. Are they watching Netflix? Are they gaming? Are they shopping, online shopping? That seems to be popular at the moment. So what can you do? I mean, that's that sort of stuff, that's their downtime, if that's their choice. But that's an opportunity for us to have a learning and a teaching moment where we can say, okay, well, what's something else you could do? You've got plenty of friends here. How about we make how about you go and knock on someone's door, call them up and say, hey, do you want to go down to the shops, or do you want to go for a walk on the oval, or do you want to come to my room and game with me and we can play together? That sort of thing. We want to teach them those skills about what to do when I'm bored, but also the most important thing about being in the boarding college and the day college is just learning healthy routine. So, boarding college students know how to get up in the morning and get their breakfast made and have showers if they choose to, make their lunches, get to class on time. But day college students are also developing that routine. So if they're coming 3 days a week, that's 3 days a week that they've got to get here by 9 o'clock. They've got to pack their lunch. They've got to get their breakfast made in time. Then they're here till 3 o'clock, and then it's their afternoon for whatever they like to do. So maybe the poor boarding college students, then when they finish class, they have to go straight into activities. So then we're trying to replicate what happens after class or what happens after work. Some of us, maybe this afternoon, some of you might have planned to go to the gym or planned to go to sports or something like that. So we offer programs like that. So we're trying to have not only getting our students out and moving their bodies and using their minds in different ways, but we're trying to create those habits that they might be able to, what are their interests and how can they fit that into their routine. So, on Saturdays we offer like a community connection. So we're going out into the community, we're catching public transport, we go to Brisbane and we go to the beach and have a barbecue, and we do all of those sorts of things, seeing the Sunshine Coast or the local area, and just building their confidence with being out in the community and managing money. That's like the perfect example for when they get to use the skills that they've learned in class. So we hope to integrate not only all of those, all of the 10 key areas of learning, but all of the extracurricular stuff that happens in the boarding college. We're hoping to grab some of that and put it into the day college. So offering excursions and incursions and working towards, at the end of each block, working towards a project. So Karen was talking about the steps for steps, but also other things like one of our classes that we're going to offer is like a creative skill building. So, having, we've been talking about having a George Street market. So some of the students who are making some of their crafty things can actually put into practice selling some of their items. And then, that's also building social skills. It's building communication skills. It's helping them with their numeracy and literacy, money handling skills. So trying to build, more practical ways to, what am I trying to say? Contextualized learning.
Yes. And it is the consistency. It is about the 3 days a week, having that same message repeated through, the expectations, knowing what's going to happen, knowing that it's coming up to an end. If you're only coming 1 day a week, it's really hard to be part of a culminating activity like a street fair out there. Whereas if you're part of a 3 day a week program, you're working towards that.
Yeah. Should we talk about some of the, does anyone want any more of those sorts of examples, or would you like to hear a little bit about the actual classes? Yeah? Okay, because I can give you a million examples of the boarding college and their successes, but
and I'll have to say we've got a million examples of successful day students as well who've moved on to I've moved on to our workmates program and are now in the process of looking for jobs. I live by the view that without a job, without a few hours a week, doesn't matter. My son works 2 hours a week, and he has a job, and he works 4 hours a week. He works 2 hours twice a week, and for him, he now actually is a participating member of the community because he has a job. He tells me that when he meets people, the first thing the Australians do, we're really good at doing this, is that we ask one another, what is it you do for a living? And the minute he says, I'm on a disability pension, people stop talking to him. So now when he meets people and they ask him what he does, he says, yes, he's got a job. He actually, but he's a cleaner in one of our STEPS offices. And as an organisation, we actually employ lots of our clients and students. Not because we're being nice people, but because they are doing a job and they actually are doing their job well and getting a whole lot out of it. So, and it makes a huge difference in his life. And I know that it makes a lot of difference in the lives of all young people if they've got a job. Doesn't matter whether it's 2 hours a week or whether it's 38 hours a week. You become a participating member of a society or a community that everybody's involved in. Everybody does. So the whole pathways plan from the day we started this program is that it was actually we don't own our. Lots of organisations think they own their clients. We're very clear on saying that we have, we're in their lives for a period of time to teach them as much as we can teach them. If they need to come back and learn something else, or we've got another program that they can actually come back to, then we're really happy to have that happen. But at the end of the day, our job is to be part of their lives for the period of time they need us to teach them how to become whatever it is that they wish to be. And our job is to actually help them find what that is. And if living away from home or living in home with the best possible scenario of having the independence at home is what they need or what they want or what the family wants, then that's what we're likely here to teach them.
So you're saying it's changed a bit over the last 6 years?
The boarding college hasn't.
How did it change? How did it get off track?
The day program? Yeah, we've only had the day program for about the last 4 years.
Yes, we started obviously the boarding college was first, and then we had some families inquiring, I'm a bit nervous to send my child to the boarding college and, have them move away. I think that, they probably wouldn't cope with that. Could they just come to class through the day? So that's how that developed. So those students would come in from 9 till 3 and just do the class sessions from on Monday to Friday.
Right.
There was a lot of interest for that, and that's how the day college developed.
Yep.
However, how it went off track was due to probably
We lost our way a little bit. I think we were trying to offer everything for everybody.
Stuff, yeah.
Instead of coming back to our core stuff, what we do really well, what we know works.
Yeah.
And
Have
that
more
is,
than the one day here.
yeah. And for a specific period of time. We don't want to be part of your life forever. It's actually about, we want to make ourselves redundant in our students' lives, but they are students. It's like going and doing any other course. The difference between us and school is we want to know the real you and help you to know the real you as well as a student and what you want out of life. And to give you the tools, or if you don't develop all of the tools that you need, knowing where you're going to need your help and having that voice to say, I need you to do this for me.
Yeah.
I want to come and volunteer. Here's what I need from you as somebody who's going to have me volunteer in your organisation.
I think that probably we started trying to be all things to all people. We'd have lots of people say, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do a course in this, or can you do a course in that?" And that's where we had some staff here that were really happy to say yes, and which is fine. It's
because
fine.
it's really hard to say no.
Got,
it's really hard to say no to a family coming in that's saying, my child, they can only come this day and this day. So we made the decision to say, okay, well, yep, we'll make it work. And we, anyone that's running a business knows that that can't happen. Like we lost our way with doing that. So most of you children who are already in the day college know that we're only offering a few different subjects. So there's only so many years that you can keep repeating, Craig, subject.
Yeah, so if we were doing home living skills.
Home living skills,
yeah. So many times we can show you how to cut a tomato appropriately. Once you've had success with that, if you're coming for 2 years, we don't need to spend 6 months.
No, we want to offer more. Yeah, we want to offer more. And it's just at the end of the day, we want the absolute best for these people coming through. We don't want to feel like, a broken record just continually, because they're better than that. They know they start getting bored and distracted and why am I here? And as the families ask the same question. So we made these decisions based on not only feedback from parents, but also when we were like, hang on, what's going on here? We need to get back on track, because our goal is independent living skills, and right now we're only offering a few different subjects over and over and over again. So,
and I think it's important to note that the NDIS are paying for the program, and the student has goals that we're actually supposed to be providing skills in, and I'm going to say this out loud: we're not a babysitting service, and there are, I know, a number of organisations around that actually will, bring young people in and do all sorts of great things with them, but it doesn't actually teach them how to do anything. And for us, we're an RTO, we're a training organisation, we're an education organisation. So, and we're first and foremost a disability and autism organisation. So, for us, we stay in our lane. We've been doing this for 35 years, and we stay in our lane. We don't move out of it. There's all sorts of opportunities for us to do things differently and work with different cohorts of people, but we don't. Mission creep is one of the biggest issues that organisations like ours can have, and I'm the driver of pulling it all back into really working with the cohort of people that we know that we work well with. We train in aged care and disabilities. We actually train all of our own staff, and we train staff for other disability organisations. So, for us, we don't just train it, we live it and we deliver it. And for us, if it doesn't have a gain, if there's no benefit in it for the student or the family, then we shouldn't be doing it, and we don't. So that's the reason why we've actually come back to the core reasons why we set this program up in the first place. So as I said before, it might not work for everybody, but I would encourage anybody that has a young person with a disability. Most of your kids have actually gone through the school programs, I'm assuming. They might have had difficulties getting their kids through school, but at the end of the day, they got up in the morning and they came and went to school, and then they did it 5 days a week, or they did it for as many days as you could get them there. It's really important as they grow older, because our lives are systemised. We're supposed to get up in the morning, we're supposed to do the things we have to do through the middle of the day, and then wind down in the afternoons and learn how to go to bed at night and not stay up all night playing games, which lots and lots and lots of young people with disabilities are apt to do these days, which is actually, and it's not just young people with disabilities who do it. So it is important that, and you will see, I'm not exactly young here, and it's really important to know that when you have people, who have a similar system that they go through every day and work through that, then they learn how to do things better. It becomes automatic to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning. It becomes automatic to get your clothes on and go and have your brekkie and put your dishes in the thing. And I think as parents, it's really important that we actually understand that as young people growing up, that's what they need to do. We need that security of purpose around doing the same things every day.
It's almost like applying structure and routine.
It is.
Yeah.
Definitely, and we know that our students work better with that routine, that structure in place, that consistency.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Like McDonald's.
Yes, it is.
Anyone can go in there and operate it because it's such a good system.
Yeah, it is.
It just works, doesn't it?
It does.
In saying that, ours works particularly well because of the passion of our trainers, of our team. It is a team that makes it happen.
Yeah.
And can I say what it does also do, which we don't often talk about, is it increases self-esteem and confidence. And without self-esteem and confidence, you can't do anything in life today. And I often say to the students, you can't go to a shop and ask, could I please have $20 of self-esteem today? Could I have $50 of confidence? You cannot buy it. But what will give you self-esteem and confidence is a job or training programs like what we do here. We see them grow in confidence. And within 2 years, we'll see even a bigger growth in confidence and self-esteem. And we can't project what will happen with that self-esteem and confidence. There's the whole world for them. They can do so much more. And none of us can achieve anything without self-esteem and confidence. It is so important to success. And that comes through our program. We see it every day.
I think it's, I don't work on a day-to-day basis in the program, obviously. I do a little bit of other things. I do a few other things. However, what I get to see is the students when they come in, day students and the boarding college students when they come into the college. And then I get to see them. This is a beautiful place to work because they're out in the quad and we're all walking around. And when I walk out the front door of my office, I'll guarantee you there'll be 3 or 4 students who'll be saying, "Hi, Carmel," and who wouldn't have actually said boo when they first came into the organisation.
Or they ask, "Who are you? What's your name?"
Who are you?
Yeah, are you from England? That's what I got the other day.
We had students that would sit under a table when anxiety would hit in a class. They're now not sitting under a table.
No,
And can I just say that that's okay when they come along? It's okay that they do that. We've got some guys up the back. We've got our fit ball there. We've got our balance beam. That's okay. Whoever you are and wherever you're up to, come on in and let's work with you.
Yeah.
We try really hard as trainers not to put any limitations, not to put any barriers in the way of that student, and to help that student break down their own barriers.
Doesn't matter if you can't read, can't write. You know, most of our students can't read and write. We at the end of the day, if we're setting up healthy routines and for when they move out, the main goal of the 2-year period is for us to figure out what they can do, and then what supports that we can sort of recommend that would help them for the rest of their life. So I'm mindful of time because I know everyone's probably waiting to go through the actual the program. So what we've developed is we wanted to offer, obviously most of you know that it's a 3-day core class where the students will be learning the 10 key areas of learning. So when you go home tonight and you want to read through your packs, you'll see what those 10 key areas of learning are. But basically they're working through, that's not to say, you know, Monday morning they were doing this subject and Tuesday they're doing this subject necessarily. They'll be integrated into every class that they're learning. So you'll see number 10 written there. So when you figure out what number 10 is, you'll see that that's numeracy, literacy, technology, numeracy and literacy, because that's something that can be integrated in multiple ways. So what we have designed is a 3-day program. So we've got group 1 and group 2. So if we look at group 1, we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Monday is learning the key areas of learning. We've got a little tree down the bottom because often Craig, one of our day college teachers who's been here from the beginning of the day college, Craig often likes to take the students outside of the classroom and you know, try and take that into, you know, getting out of these 4 walls and the bright lights and under a tree, or, you know, to the beach, wherever we can, to try and mix up the day. Tuesdays is the cooking. So they'll be going over to our commercial kitchen. I don't know if some of your students do cooking already, but they'll be learning how to cook. So the start of the cooking day is usually theory, where they're learning about nutrition and healthy eating habits, and then they move into their cooking.
With our fully qualified chefs, we are lucky enough to have on staff. We do.
Yeah, we've got lots of chefs, which is really great.
Trainers as well.
Yeah,
qualified trainers, but chefs.
At the end of the day is when they pack down in the kitchen. So they're learning that's where they're learning all their cleaning skills while they're in the kitchen with the chefs. In boarding college, they're learning it in their bathrooms and their kitchens, but in the day college, that's where they get to put those practical skills, learn about chemicals and all of that sort of stuff that they, you know, and how to
knife handling,
and all of those sorts of things that can be sort of replicated in other areas of the home.
And that yellow plate signifies they eat what they've just designed. Basically.
That's exactly right.
It does.
Right. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
They do enjoy that bit.
Yeah,
I think it's really important too to note that the majority of students who come in here have a very limited menu of food that they will eat. I'm here to tell you that by the time they leave, particularly in our boarding school, they've probably got about 30
meals that
they know how to buy for and cook and eat.
Yeah.
So none of them leave here with the same menu they came in with.
And
some of ours have come in with only eating 3 different things.
And there's still some with, you know, obviously sensory
issues.
taste issues. but it's always, we might not be able to do much while they're in boarding college in their own home. They, you know, they execute their rights. If they don't want to eat something that's got a funny texture, we will not push it on them. But they'll always try it in cooking class. So it might only be a tiny bit of something, but it's every week they're trying something new, and we just see that as a win. And every now and then they'll add that into their like repertoire of, and it might just be one ingredient, or it might be a way that they've cooked something like apples and cooking it into an apple pie. So that might not be the healthiest thing, but it's still, all of a sudden they're eating an apple. So, and they've never eaten an apple before. So, and cooking class is I can speak from the boarding college, is the most favourite session of the week.
I think across day college,
and day college, is everyone loves being in cooking class.
And it actually, just to give you an example of integration, cooking coming into the cooking environment, our trainers are looking at the cost of the food. So they, within the classroom, not only in the cooking classroom, but within their classroom, they're looking at, okay, what sort of portion size? How much is that going to cost? How can we add some more nutritional value? What vegetables can we have? Are we making sure that we cover the full food wheel? So at the end of the day, they're getting a plate of food that they love to eat, but they're also learning about what makes a good meal and how to stay within budget.
They also learn about what to freeze and what not, and just like those food safety, which is can be such an issue.
About embedding, when we're talking about embedding other parts of our program in, Josh, who's our day college trainer, will actually take our students down to Coles and take them to the IGA as well, and be able to show them the difference between costing things, so the difference between a fresh product, a pre-made product, but also it comes into those budgeting things. So that's where we kind of embed part of our other programs. So then we're talking about numeracy, so they're talking about like net price and those sorts of things, but also being able to read. And I don't know if we've actually got one up there, but we've got this cool little pen that actually reads. So for some of our students who actually don't have the ability to read, they actually have the opportunity to take that little pen down, and they can actually swipe it over the little tag that shows what that product is, and actually reads what it is, and will actually also tell them the cost of it as well. And then using adaptive technology, we've got students who actually then go, if they're cooking a few different things, they'll actually ask Siri on their phones or Google to actually be able to add up those things. So even with our students who don't have particularly good literacy and numeracy skills, be able to use adaptive technology to be able to get their answers.
It's a great way of not putting barriers.
I feel like we nearly see that stuff as a challenge. Like, you know, we're constantly brainstorming ideas and thinking, how can we, you know, this is a problem, how are we going to fix this? How are we, not fix it, but how are we going to put steps in place? And, you know, I feel like we think of that's like a, you know, I wouldn't say a good thing, but it's something that I basically think that we've built half of the Pathways College on all of those sorts of challenges. Yeah.
And that's why we need your student for 3 days a week now, because we need to get to know them inside out and backwards and help them to know themselves.
Exactly. And I will say, it's not only just the students we need to get to know. We need to actually get to know families and see, you know, where we can actually help. If we've got a student that's actually not doing well at home, that we have this wonderful street angel that we have when they come here, and then they go home and they're the house devil. Yes. Then we need to know about that. We need to know what it is that actually upsets them. That, you know, is it something that's happened during the day, or is it something that we can work with them on and talk with them about? You know, we've got some amazing staff around here. We've got our student support officers who are really skilled in helping, you know, our students to really come to grips with what it is that's actually upsetting them most of the time. But I think as parents, you know, I have this little absolutely fabulous little grandson who's 15 months old, and I look after him once a fortnight. He's an absolute angel for me, and for his granddad, we have the best day ever. And when I take him home and give him to his mother and father, he gets out of that car and he screams blue murder for the next 2 hours. Now, you've seen your kids do that when they were little, no doubt, when they've come home from preschool or something, which is that whole, I've had a terrible day and how dare you leave me with my grandparents stuff. our children with disabilities don't do much differently as well. If they think that they've been either forced to do something or they didn't want to do it, or they've gone in and they've had a fabulous day, they don't want you to know that. They just don't. It's a very odd scenario for children. That happens when they're little, and it happens when they're big, particularly if they've got disability or autism.
So it's called a guilt trip.
It's called a guilt trip. How to make your parents feel really guilty because they've sent you somewhere that I didn't want to go.
So
But they do have a great time here. I'm here to tell you, if you could just be a fly on the wall when they're in here, they might come home and tell you they're exhausted.
But they're also, they're not. We know that they're
learning.
all people. We don't come to work and there's stuff that goes on, and we especially in the boarding college understand that one day you can be in the best mood and the next day you're cranky for something, for some reason, and maybe you don't want to talk about it, or maybe someone said something that you've misinterpreted and that sort of thing. But we really use those opportunities to work through those feelings. And we talk about, you might hear the term toolbox. So that's something that our students learn is, do we have a toolbox?
Yes, we
you've
do.
seen it
I'm
over
up here on the wall.
So this is their toolbox, and this is where they learn what zone they're in. So the zones of regulation, if they're in the blue zone, the green, the yellow, and the red, and then what can they do when they feel them. First of all, they've got to recognise what that emotion feels like and be able to name it, and then what do I do when I feel that coming on? Because we want to get it early. Want them to recognise it early, and then and then what are they going to do once they can feel themselves moving through those zones? What's in their toolbox that they can pull from? So this example is I can't read it.
So we've got the inner coach, that self voice that's in there, and you can do it. We've got being around animals, and we've also got being out, being around, and getting those bare feet on the ground and just touching the earth.
Yeah, so that's that person's toolbox. So they know that when they do that, those sorts of actions, that they're going to sort of start coming down and going back into the blue zones where they want to be, isn't it?
And we can share those with
Or the
families
green,
to know
yeah.
that at home if the same thing happens, then there's some actions that
Yeah,
they actually have chosen that they actually can do as
yeah,
well.
exactly. What
in their
zone
own
do you
lives.
feel like you're in right now? I'm in the red zone. Okay, well, I know in that toolbox, I know that they've decided when they're in the red zone that they need some space, so I'm going to step back and give them their space. And then they've told me that to give me 5 minutes, so I'm going to come back in and check on them in 5 minutes. And then so I'll do that, and then they want another 5 minutes. So this is just not about just teaching the students. This is also about educating the families as well. So it's going to be our job to make sure that we're getting this information back to you. Because you are, I guess, the second trainer in their life, although I know you're all parents, but you are, we need your support to take on the second half of what the boarding college would really do. So that's that. So I think we've covered the groups. So group 2 would be the same, but in the flip, so it'd be the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So when we're talking about electives, so that's where we're moving the cafe skills, horticulture skills, what we did call art, we're calling creative skills, and then we're adding an additional subject called employment skills. So we want to, the cafe will look a little bit different. The shifts are a little bit longer, but what we're including in the shift is 1 hour of theory. So that's going through and learning, because when they're in the cafe, it's a busy environment. They're often the trainers, you're serving customers, you're on the coffee machine, or you're on the till, or you're making food, or you're heating up toasted sandwiches and that sort of thing. So there's not a lot of time to actually learn the basics of being in the cafe. So we're going to use an hour of that time to sit down with a trainer and go through the theory component of being in a cafe and learning all of the skills that you need to do to work in that environment.
Closed?
No, so there's 2 shifts.
Shift.
So 2 shifts. So there'd be one shift is from 8:30 to 11:30, and then 11:30 to 12 is that theory component. We've also changed. We were with feedback from the trainers. We identified that it's a lot to be in the kitchen with a lot of people, in the cafe with a lot of people. It's hard to be a worker, serving the community, but also trying to train our students and giving them the best opportunity possible. So we've decided to change the ratios to 1-to-1 in the cafe to really give what's the word?
More intense.
Yeah, an
support.
intense
So it's really more
support
intense.
in there, because it's a fast-paced environment. So we'd have 2 students in the
It
first.
is a very busy cafe. Have you been into the cafe?
Yeah.
I'll just say
Yeah.
how awesome it is. Like every Wednesday morning, I drop my son Luke off, and I have to sort of get here at 8:20, 8:25 to get back to the uni where I work for 9 o'clock. So we go in there and we order a mocha, and Luke's ordering the mocha now. And Michelle and the crew are fantastic.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
Is it Jess? Called?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Just seeing the growth and change.
Oh,
in
yeah,
them
I
has been
know.
so gratifying. It's just awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really
neat
is.
to
Yeah.
see. So cool.
Yes.
But it has become very. When we first opened the cafe, it was pretty easy to have 3 students in there to one trainer. But
Because it wasn't very busy.
It wasn't very
So,
busy.
but now it's just getting
So
busier.
you're a victim of your unsuccess.
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
We are.
So now we
We
have
are,
groups,
we are.
elderly ladies coming through. They'll go through the nursery, and then they'll go and have the ladies' tea up there. So all of a sudden
We
it's
have big
quite a
groups.
busy
There's often-
environment.
there's often 30 people in that cafe,
Yeah.
and those students are really, and it's fascinating to see how what they're like behind the counter compared to what they are when they come out from behind it. There's almost this, when they finish their shift. I've been over there on a number of occasions, and they'll ask you all the questions, they'll do all the serving, they'll get you all the things you want, and they'll speak to you and do all those things, and then their shift is over and they walk out the front, and suddenly they become that really quiet, less confident person again, until they've done it a few 100 times, and then
Or
and
the
then they-
opposite,
or the
where
opposite.
they're keep maintaining it cool, and then they're really loud and yelling out to their friends across the park. So it's they're learning how to be appropriate in their environment, how to be professional behind the counter, and all of that sort of thing. So it's a really good
It's my favourite
skill.
place to be, the cafe.
Yeah. So that's the cafe skills. Horticulture. So we've got some big visions for our horticulture class, and we hope to be able to offer that eventually 5 days a week, but right now Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays. And we have, obviously everyone knows that we've got a nursery down there, and we have volunteers from the community coming into the nursery to help run the nursery. So we saw an opportunity we've already got this sort of model in the cafe. Why don't we do this in the nursery? So we're going to bring our trainers into the nursery, so the students will be learning everything that they need to know about working in a nursery, basically. So our mid-term goal is to engage an RTA, the languages.
Here's our steps.
Yes, we've
Our
got
steps RTO.
so our RTO
RTO.
actually has will have a horticulture course.
Yeah, so we can
It's
offer
also
a Cert 2 in horticulture, and then the next step from that would be if we could do the same thing with the cafe and offer a hospitality Cert 2 or something like that. So that's what we're working towards. So when the students are coming into these programs, that they're actually getting something tangible at the end of it that they can use alongside
they don't
their
have to be involved.
experience.
They don't have to do that.
They don't have to. That's
it's
just something
it's
that's
something
optional.
They like to do.
Yeah.
They can.
The creative skills, so that we called that art class, but what we wanted to do was we were thinking about what art class meant, and there's so many creative people that we know that have been through the boarding college especially, but also in the day college, and other young people who have come in to visit us, to talk to us about some of the things that they make and they create. So we really want to harness that in these young people. So we've got a wonderful art teacher who's very creative, and she has all of these ideas. The students do painting, and I think they're going to start doing photography and soap making and candle making, and all sorts of little activities that create a product that perhaps that this young person could set up as a little side business, or they could sell to their friends and family, or they could go down to their local corner store and see if it was something that they could put in there. We've got a young girl who makes soap, and she puts her soap in at the nursery and sells her beautiful
She comes
soaps.
here once a month and sells it all to the staff.
Yeah, she does a great job. In local businesses in the community. Yeah. So
and then there's another example of the rocks. The guys in art class, they painted these rocks, and they were sitting out here, and they made our day out here. And then they decided to take them further. So they were out around the cafe, just in the garden. Do you know how much it makes your day when you walk past and you see a sign? And
they didn't tell anybody they were doing it. We're like, where are all these rocks? Yeah, it says all these like lovely messages on it, and no one really knew where it came from because they were sort of discreet about it. So, we talked about opening the cafe over Friday night and having an art exhibition where they could, work towards a project where they were, doing something on a canvas or some sort of sculpture or something like that, where, family and friends could come and view their art and have some wine and cheese. So, I think we're having a lot of fun with that subject and what we could do to, enhance the creativity side of a lot of our young people. Lastly, employment skills. I think that's a pretty obvious one. There's so many things that we teach in the boarding college that we think that we could help our day college students in preparation for Workmates. So Dale is from Workmates. I think I introduced him before. I can't remember.
Yes, you did.
So, when Dale takes a student after they've been through their boarding college or day college experience, we want to make sure that we've set them up to the best of our ability. So we want to help them understand what even a job is. A lot of the students have grand ideas about what they'd like to do for work, and so we want to sort of take those ideas and figure out how we can help
just put it into something that is going to be achievable, realistic.
Yeah. So then by the time they get to Dale, or by the time they get to Des, or if an opportunity comes up in the community where they, or in family businesses or that sort of thing, then they have a little bit of an idea of what's the appropriate clothes to wear to work. What might a workplace look like? What might they
big thing is
they have an issue in the workplace.
Exactly. All of those sorts of
or who can
things.
support me in a workplace.
Yeah.
Foundational skill sets to get a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And the really big thing is, what do I need in order to make your workplace work for me? Because we find a lot of employers, they're really scared about employing somebody with a disability. What do I need to do? How do I do that? If our students can walk in and go, here's what I need for you to do for me so that this workplace is going to be me friendly.
Yeah. So that's things like a video resume rather than a paper one that says sometimes, these are the skills that I have, these are some of my challenges, and this is what I do, and these are some of the things in my toolbox that I use when you might notice me doing this. This is the sort of thing that you might need me to have a little bit of time out, or that sort of thing. So we really want to empower the student to be able to go to a workmate or an employment service where they can feel confident, and families can feel confident that person's going to be taken seriously and kind of cared for on the job, and the workplace is going to feel confident that they can take on somebody that maybe they wouldn't have usually. So that's our big goal for employment skills.
And I also think one of the things we do in the college, pretty much generally across both the boarding and the day college, is actually teach them how to be safe. What is acceptable for people to say and do for them and to them, and what's not. So we're really clear about some of those lessons that we actually talk to them about. And if you're actually working with a support worker or somebody that's actually that's supposed to be caring for you, what is and isn't acceptable. So it's a really important part of some of the learnings that we work with them on as well.
Yeah,
I love seeing their face light up when you talk to them about the benefits of a job, because many people think a job is just money. It's not. A job gives us purpose, it gives us direction, we grow, we make friends, we learn new skills, and we can come up with 50 different benefits to having a job. And it's like, at first all they could say is money, a job's money. as we said earlier, a job gives us self-esteem and confidence.
Mm.
We gain that free through a job.
Mm.
We can't buy it.
Mm.
So there's so many benefits. And when they can see those benefits, they understand that, I'd like to work 2 days and still obtain my benefit, my pension, but to be able to work 2 days and gain all those other wonderful benefits. It lights them up.
Mm. It really does.
How are you going for time?
Yes.
We're a little over, so I think you'll find everything that we've spoken about and more in your booklets. There is some FAQs in there. There's a breakdown of the 10 key areas of learning. There's a timetable example that you've just seen on the board. I just want to point out that we do have. There's programs of support as well, and there's also an example quote of what that might look like. So, what you would receive when you decided which classes that you were going into would have a little bit more detail on it. This is just we've given you an example of what sort of classes are in the electives, and then what's contained in the core. So have a read through.
This will take place in the next term.
This will take place next
from
term, 3rd of July.
So that will start on July 3.
Yeah.
That's your timetable.
Yeah. So is Cassie? Oh, Cassie's still here. So Cassie's our student services administrator, and look at you're an officer. So Cassie will be helping to facilitate your queries, and as will Julie up the back. So Julie's our operations administrator as well. So any questions that you have about the program, any questions about what they might be learning, what the quote, understanding the quote, they'll be your go-to. You'll see Cassie's card in the folder, so you can call her. Otherwise, you can email through to the Pathways email. If you have any questions specifically for Karen, I, or Carmel, please let Cassie know, and she'll arrange something. If you want to meet with us again and talk more about details and find out more about the program, if you know.
It's important to note as well is that it is a fee for service program as well. So there's lots and lots of people who don't have NDIS packages. So the program is priced quite well for anybody who actually wants to just pay for it themselves. And so if you've got friends or family that who've got kids with disabilities that haven't been able to get onto the NDIS, and by the looks of the changes that are being made to the NDIS probably won't, with the $74 billion that are actually going to be pulled back in the next 5 years in the last budget, then our program's open to anybody, and if they can afford to pay for it, it's actually priced not necessarily for the NDIS, but to be able to cover the costs of the program.
And also online, not only face to face.
Yeah,
Sonia's one of our fantastic online teachers.
So I think it's really interesting because we had only just started the day program prior to COVID, and of course our students in the college got locked down during COVID, and they had a great time. I might add.
They really did.
They did. They had a great time. But our online program absolutely exploded, and we had dozens and dozens of students from all over the country on our online program, and it did exceedingly well because there were so many young people at home, locked up particularly in Victoria. And I think it's also important to note that the majority of our students in the boarding college haven't been local. They've actually been coming in from other states, Newcastle, Cairns,
North Queensland, yeah.
So the majority of our early students, I think we only had 2 local students in our first cohort. The rest of them were all from all over the country. So, and they still are. I think we're populating Caloundra with our students that have
nobody
graduated.
wants to leave. They're all moving here, and then mum and dad are like, "Oh, aren't you coming home?" No, we're staying here in Caloundra. So, but I mean, the rental market at the moment makes that quite difficult. So,
I think it makes it quite difficult anyway.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions before we leave? I think we've overkilled you with information.
Anybody
So
on?
my son's only here 1 day a week, so if I can't do the 4, that's it.
3.
The
Minimum
3.
3.
Well, he's doing the cafe. So you'd have to do 3 core to do that one elective cafe.
Yeah. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because in order to do the cafe, you still need all of those skills.
Yeah,
so
he's busy 5 days a week.
yeah, okay.
He's up every morning.
Yeah.
He's not at home.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I would have to cancel those days
Okay.
for him to do that.
Yeah.
He's pretty busy boy.
Okay.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
So then we can look at options for you, which is where Dale
Yeah.
might come
So
in.
could Dale find your son a job?
So with the Workmates program, we're all about building those foundational skills that they would be doing in the
He's doing that with Carla.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah, with Charlie.
Yeah.
So one of the options that we were looking at with Charlie was maybe looking at continuing to finish his Cert 2, because I believe he's doing the Cert 2 at the
I'm
moment.
so worried about
So
that.
we're looking into a cafe or somewhere in the community where we can actually finish that off, and then moving towards some other achievable goals, just using the 3-hour sessions 2 days a week.
Yeah.
So if you're not able, and Charlie doesn't have the availability to do the full 3 days in the college, there are still other programs within STEPS that we can still help. Yeah. And look, we're happy to sort of work around those schedules as well, where the Workmates can be a little bit more flexible in how we deliver those services as well. So it's not
It's a different
if you
program.
can't do this, then that's it. There's
Yeah.
definitely other things there that we can cater for Charlie. And obviously he's worked so hard to get towards where he's at with that Cert 2. So it's something we want to see him get through.
Finished.
Yeah, and we're actually looking for something in the local community around that.
Oh, good. Yeah, because we're up that end.
Whereabouts are you?
Mountain Creek.
Mountain Creek.
Dale, do you have any cards?
Yeah,
Or
I did
the-
take a couple with me.
Does anybody want to take, or if we want to pop it in the folder there, or do you want to reach out to Dale if you?
Just a basic spiel about the Workmates program as well for anyone who's interested or just wanted further information about it as well.
Yeah.
Thank you all very
Oh,
much.
hang on, one
for-
last question.
Oh, sorry, you had another one?
No, that's all right. Yeah, because my daughter, she sort of strongly likes to work at the cafe and she loves the cafe and she's actually wanting to drop that Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how it's going to go for her because she's already, at the age of 33, she's been through a few colleges. A lot of it, I suppose, it's even though she hasn't been able to grasp everything, to be able to learn everything, but it's all like she's done it before, a lot of it. So, and I think she's probably finding some of it, even though she doesn't understand, she finds it quite boring.
How do you think she'd feel about all of those 10 key areas of learning that we were talking about?
Well, she's going to find it challenging because already she was saying to me, Mum, I don't want to go back on the Wednesdays. She was already talking about next term, term 3,
Yeah.
saying term 2 rather. It's term 2, isn't it? Yeah.
Term 2, yeah.
That I don't want to go back to college and do any of those courses. I just want to go straight into work, she says.
Okay.
Right.
Have you spoken to Vanessa this afternoon?
No.
Next week they're heading out. They're heading out to spend some money. They're heading out to spend $20.
Okay.
They're heading out to a cafe to have to talk to somebody about what they want and work out how much it's going to cost for that and what change they're going to get. Before they go off campus, they're doing a risk assessment about how everybody's going to feel, potential dangers. If I start going up the ladder there, if I'm going into the red zone, what can I do? What are the first things that start to happen for me? What can my other peers around me in the classroom notice? And how can they help me to reset myself? I spoke to Vanessa about that this afternoon in class with Aaron.
Vanessa, when she first started doing managing money, and she's now going through and doing some of that extension stuff, and I've got the opportunity to pop in occasionally and get a drink from Vanessa. And Vanessa, when she first started at college, compared to Vanessa in the cafe now, is 2 completely different people.
Yeah.
Like Vanessa, who couldn't identify coins, couldn't work out basic change, compared to a Vanessa now who operates the till and upsells. So it doesn't just give you the coffee, but lets you know about the special, and lets you know about the muffin, and it sort of tells you that it's okay for you to treat yourself to have a muffin. So her confidence along with her skills in that have just come, So despite the fact that Vanessa does, and she'll openly say, oh, I don't need to do these sorts of things.
No.
Vanessa consistently is growing, and almost on a fortnightly basis, you're seeing little changes, not only in her confidence, but her ability to be able to problem solve, both in the cafe and in class.
And can I just say, coming here as one of our students, we're never going to make it easy for you. That's not what we're about. We're about as soon as you look like you're coping with something, we're going to push you that little bit further. Because we don't want to put limits in front of you. We want to see how much you can achieve.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No, just one more online. Is there anyone here?
Yeah, why not?
Bella's mum has just asked. Bella is currently attending one class a week. She is happy for her to progress to another, as she has a cookie business. Is there any way around that she could just do the 2 days?
No,
The program's
unfortunately,
actually
yeah.
been set up. to
Yeah,
do
it's
3.
been set up that way.
It is really very much around the outcomes of this. They need to be doing a minimum of 3 days to actually get any outcome.
Yeah.
I'll make sure she
Yeah.
And
Okay,
also
yeah,
let them know about the work-based program to maybe assist
Yes.
outside of if
Bella's
she's
in
unable to do
Brisbane.
the
Yeah.
She's in
Yeah.
Brisbane.
Oh, she's in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Still, there'll be
There'll be somebody that
Well,
we can put her in
she's,
touch with.
The family is supporting her in a big cookie business. So she
Yeah,
makes
that's
cookies and
great.
they sell the cookies.
Mm.
So she's really currently working. She's
Yeah.
growing really well. She's doing really well.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for everybody coming out tonight, and so we've gone over time. And thank you for everyone online. And so this will be filmed, and it's been filmed, and it will be edited and put together and sent out. So if you feel the need to re-watch it, otherwise for those who haven't,
or if you'd like to reshare it with anybody.
That has any questions, any other parents, but please don't hesitate to call if you've got any more questions, if you want to talk more about your options and that sort of thing. So we really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
See you later.